What's up, you guys? I'm going to recommend 5 movies that are on Shudder right now. Now, if you have Shudder, you know there's a constant rotation, so some of these movies are probably not going to be on there for much longer. So you need to get in there and watch them before they're gone. Let's start with The Tunnel from 2011. It's an Australian horror film. It's found footage, like mockumentary style. So if you're into found footage, I would consider this one a good example of it. The Tunnel is about Natasha, who is a journalist basically standing on her last leg in her career, desperate to investigate a story about the government's suddenly canceled project for the underground tunnels of Sydney. So basically, she leads her team into the tunnels, which turns out to be a complete labyrinth. And something sinister is down there with them, which is causing people to go missing. Spoiler alert, there is a monster down there. And it was pretty creepy from what we see of it, obviously, because you can't give too much away, because then it just takes away from it. But you see it just enough times where you're like, okay, yeah, that's pretty creepy. Going through these movies, I'm going to reveal what the Rotten Tomatoes score was and the audience score. So for this movie, it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't really think that's accurate considering there's only 7 reviews for the critics. The audience score, though, is 50%. So it's kind of, you either love it or you hate it. I'm going to go more with the audience score of 50%, which is definitely believable because it's a found footage, and a lot of people do not like found footage in general. Like for me, found footage is obviously a hit and miss, so it's not your cinematic shit, right? If you don't like found footage style filming, then skip this one. But if you do and you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. I was surprised about how much I liked it. I really didn't think I was going to like it at all. Like, I thought I was going to turn it off after 10 minutes. I have this 10-minute rule with horror movies. Basically, when I put on a new horror movie I've never seen before, I give it 10 minutes to see if it grabs my attention and makes me want to watch the whole thing. If it does not captivate me in 10 minutes, then I turn it off and find something else. I feel like you can get a good gauge with most movies in a span of 10 minutes. Next up, if you are into Japanese horror movies, I have got a weird recommendation for you. Weird in a good way. It's called Hair Extensions. This is a Japanese horror film from 2007. This category, besides being a Japanese horror movie, J-horror, this is the fuck did I just watch category. And before I lose you on that recommendation, just hold on because it gets better, I swear. An eccentric morgue worker discovers one of the corpses has infinite hair growth and begins stealing the hair and selling it to nearby hair salons, knowing chaos will ensue as the hair causes anyone who wears it to go insane or just flat out kills them. This morgue worker has a hair fetish, steals the hair from the other corpses, but obviously it's not as special because those heads do not grow their hair back. But this corpse of this young woman that was found in a shipping container, like some type of magical corpse, just grows hair infinitely. It's just absolutely wacky and crazy. And it's funny. It is a horror comedy, so it's quite comedic. It's not one of those movies where you're gonna take it seriously. It's not a serious movie whatsoever. So technically, this does not have a critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It does have an audience score of 52%, which is honestly way more than I thought it was gonna get. Like, not in a bad way. If you know anything about Japanese folklore, or if you are an avid J-horror movie watcher like I am, you would know that hair is a pretty big thing, especially for women. It's a pretty big thing in Japanese folklore and culture in general. Like hair symbolized like your class, right? Like if you're rich or poor, it really signified what class you're in depending on how well taken care of your hair was or how long and beautiful it was. Obviously, it symbolizes youth and beauty, but a lot of the times in these stories, like the women ghouls or ghosts or witches, whatever creatures, these women will have really long, silky black hair or just really long hair. So it's a pretty big thing, and I'm not surprised this movie popped up. But if you've seen other J horror movies like the Grudge series, which is Ju-on, or like the Ring series, which is Ringu. Obviously, America had to make their versions. I think I liked the American Ring, the first one, not the remake. We don't talk about her. Better than Ringu, but as far as the Grudge, I think I like Ju-on a little better. But I did like the remake, like the American remake with, I think it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. I actually did like that one. But they all have really long black hair. Totally makes sense why they would center a whole movie around like crazy hair that makes people lose their minds, which I think is a fun concept. I would definitely recommend this movie. Next up, we do have a Shudder original that came out this year. It is called Daddy's Head. I think this one's technically a thriller horror, but honestly, I would consider it more sci-fi horror. The creature in this movie is alien-like. Came out this year, directed by Benjamin Barfoot. This movie is about a boy and his recently widowed stepmother that he is not close to whatsoever, being visited by a creature that mimics the face of his recently deceased father, and they both fear for their lives. The entire premise is just weird, but I think it has a really good message, especially at the end. I had to turn on like a funny YouTube video to watch before going to sleep, only because I didn't want this creature in my dreams. If that doesn't tell you that the creature was creepy to me, I don't know what does. Yeah, I definitely recommend to check this one out. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. A rather trippy movie, as they say. It's called A Spoonful of Sugar. Technically, this one is classified as a horror drama. I would say, it definitely has drama in it. Like, it's definitely dramatic. I've never taken LSD, so I can't say if these hallucinations from the main character are legitimate or not. It's really interesting to see the main character having all these hallucinations because she's on LSD. Because she somehow got prescribed LSD to take on the daily for her extreme mental health condition. A Spoonful of Sugar, directed by Mercedes Bryce Morgan, came out in 2022. I really consider this one more of a psychological horror, psychedelic even, in a lot of the scenes. Morgan Saylor stars as Millicent, who is the main character. She is a babysitter who has a sexual awakening when she takes LSD, and she starts to treat the sick child that she babysits with the drug, and the family's dark secrets start to unfold. But we'll start with the fact that it heavily leans into the usage of LSD, so it's showing a lot of her hallucinations. So it's very psychedelic, psychological. Another thing I liked about this movie is the coloring of the film itself was, it was pretty muted, but it was also really pretty at the same time. Like, it was very dramatic in the coloring, if that makes any sense. I mean, you could feel the moods, right? The ambiance, especially with the hallucinations as well. I definitely recommend to check it out, especially if you like psychedelic, trippy, psychological stuff. Thriller movies in general. Last but not least, you may have already seen this movie. It's been talked about a lot, but I still wanted to include it because I really enjoyed this movie. And it's another Shudder original that came out this year. It's called Oddity. And Oddity did have a theatrical release for a short time. Only made 1.4 million at the box office worldwide. I didn't even know this movie had come out in theaters in general because I really feel like the advertising was just not there. I don't know. They didn't do a good job with advertising it. I would classify it in the spooky thriller category. After the main character, Darcy's sister, is brutally murdered after letting a stranger into her house, Darcy is hell-bent on discovering what really happened to her sister that night and wants to get revenge on those responsible. She uses her haunted items, which are called the oddities, in her oddity shop to help her solve the mystery. It got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes as the critic score. The audience score wasn't too far off. The audience score was a 78%. So I think that's pretty solid. A lot of people like this movie, including myself. So definitely agree with Rotten Tomatoes on this one. Because a lot of the times Rotten Tomatoes can say something's either really good and it's crap, or it's really bad and it's actually good. So this is one of those times where I agree with their rating for once. A lot of things came out this year. A lot of good movies have come out this year. I think this is one of the more spooky ones that have come out this year. The ending pissed me off. I'm not gonna tell you what the ending is, but just know you might be pissed off because I was. It's a Shudder original. I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I don't think they're gonna take it off because it's their movie. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope y'all have a beautiful night and a very Merry Christmas.